sort of go. पहले मेरे को बोलो मेरी आवाज क्लियर है?
Yes, ma'am.
अच्छा, good. So yeah, we studied Plato last time. In our syllabus, we have Plato's theory of ideas. अब हम
Okay.
क्या करेंगे? We're gonna. I really want to sort of revise that again because I found some students had problems with that. So let me see. Good. Just a second. Where is Plato? Where is Plato? I want to see Plato. There. Okay, good. Okay, so let's start with Plato. You have 3 images that I've shared with you in the group. We are studying his theory of ideas. So firstly, a little bit of introduction into who Plato was and what are his contributions to the history of philosophy. We studied how he is one of the most important, one of the most influential philosophers in history. By the way, I would want everyone should have their notebooks, bilkul notebook, pen, just like the class. You have your notebook, you
Yes,
start
teacher.
taking notes. Don't miss your notes. Don't just listen to what I'm saying. Write what I'm saying. So that'll help you. So anyway, so Plato is one of the most influential thinker in history, in the history of philosophy. And he is so influential that people after him, like we studied Socrates, and we studied about Socrates, how he was so influential that people before him were called pre-Socratics, and the philosophers who came after him were called the Socratic philosophers. So he defined a kind of, this type of philosophy. He pioneered a very different view of philosophy. So similarly, Plato being the student, this should be very clear that Plato is the student of Socrates. So Plato being the student of Socrates is equally famous, or we could even say even more famous, because Plato worked a lot. Socrates का तो हमारे पास एक ही idea है, his dialectical method, जो हमने पढ़ा. मगर Plato के बहुत सारे, he contributed a lot. He gave a lot of ideas. He worked in politics, political science, ethics, metaphysics, these different fields. Obviously, metaphysics is what? Metaphysics is the study of existence, study of being, right? The other name for metaphysics is ontology, right? Am I good?
Yes.
So another thing, like for example, you'll get a question in your exam. Write a short essay on Plato's theory of ideas. So you'll have to give a short, brief introduction on who Plato was, what was his influence, and how influential he was, his ideas. और उसके बाद फिर आप शुरू करेंगे उसका theory of ideas.
Ideas.
उसमें आप लिखेंगे firstly जो है obviously the period of Plato. As we can see, the time period of Plato is 428 to 348 BC. So he is obviously somewhere around the time of Socrates, because we know Socrates ka jo most famous work that mentions Socrates. The most famous work that mentions a philosopher named Socrates is Apology. उस work का नाम ही है, उस book का नाम है Apology, और वो प्लेटो ने लिखी है Socrates के बारे में. So Plato has written that book about Socrates. So they were contemporaries, matlab they lived in the same time period. ठीक? Good. Also, another thing that we should know about him is that he was an aristocrat. He was very influential in his society at that time. And he was from Athens, which is the capital, right now, the capital of Greece. And at that time, it was a very important, Athens, jo city thi, was a very important cultural, social, political center in Greece. So ये जो तीन हम पढ़ेंगे, we're going to study these 3 important philosophers, starting from Socrates, उसके बाद Plato, उसके बाद Aristotle.
Then Aristotle.
हाँ, ऐसे आ रहे हैं, और ये तीनों Athens के ही हैं. ये तीनों Athens के ही हैं, और ये तीनों they are in a sequence. Like Socrates is the teacher of Plato, Plato is the teacher of Aristotle. Good?
Yes.
Okay, anything else that you need to know? Let's see. Some of his works are these. You can write, he wrote these books. There's Meno, there's Crito, there's Theaetetus. this is just general knowledge that you can give in your question. When Republic, obviously, one of the famous books, Republic, Apology. Now let's go straight to his theory of ideas. Theory of ideas.
Ideas.
Yeah. What is that about? And what exactly, how does that change the entire dimension of philosophy? That is what we need to know. Okay, so theory of ideas is one of the most important and central theory in Plato's philosophy. I hope you all are writing these things down. While I'm just saying this, you're taking notes. So this is one of the most important and central theory in Plato's philosophy.
Philosophy.
Yeah, the idea comprehends the essential qualities. Okay, don't write this. Let me explain this first, and then you can write this. Okay. So we want to understand how did he come up with this theory, firstly. So you can understand it this way, and you can write it also if you want, that Plato imagined the world to be divided into two parts.
Two parts.
Yes, Plato imagined the entire world to be divided into two parts. Number one,
physical and spiritual.
Almost, but we are going to use a different term for that.
Okay.
One is going to be the world of senses. Number one is the world of senses.
Senses.
Yes. And number two is the world of forms or ideas.
Yes.
अब ये same है. Forms
Ideas.
or ideas is the same. Number one is the world of
Same.
senses. Number two is the world of forms or ideas. So obviously now we can understand the world of senses is the world that we perceive through our five senses. Our sense of sight, our sense of smell, our sense of touch, our sense of hearing, and our sense of taste. Five senses say whatever we perceive, पूरी दुनिया में जो भी हम perceive करते हैं उसको world of senses बोला जाएगा, right? That is the world of senses. But what is the world of forms now? That's what we need to understand. So this will require thoda sa ab. Now you have to start with imagination. You have to,
Yes.
open up your imagination, because that is the whole idea of philosophy, that you are able to go beyond the world of senses. You are able to go beyond the world of senses, because most people just live at the world of senses. That's it. They think that is the only reality. But when you study philosophy, philosophy opens the door for you to go beyond the world of senses. Now you're going to go into the world of reason. The world of reason, which is the world of ideas, जो अभी हम पढ़ेंगे, world of forms, right? So reason obviously is what we studied. अकल, ये मतलब दुनिया, अकल वाली दुनिया, जहां सिर्फ forms or ideas होंगे. You will not be able to access them through your five senses. You will only be able to think about them. That's the important part. You'll be able to think about them. Okay, another thing I wanted to share with you. Just a minute. Give me a second. We want to define his, the terms that he's going to use. तो आप ये लिख सकते हैं इसमें. Let's start with, like we said, we divided the world into two parts. Plato divided the world into two parts: world of the senses, world of forms. So you can also write, this is Plato's dualism. This is Plato's dualism. D-U-A-L-I-S-M. This is Plato's dualism. He is viewing the world in these two different realms. एक है जो senses से हमें मिलता है, एक है जो अक्ल से हमें मिलता है. अच्छा. Also, you need to understand that the physical world, that is the world of the senses, is always changing. Okay, this is very important. The physical world or the world of the senses is always changing. That's very important, because if we think about it, abhi dekho, we are sitting right now. It's becoming nighttime. The sun has set. Things are moving. Everything is changing. There are changes happening in our own bodies, in the environment. So everything is changing. So this is very important to understand, that the world of senses जो है वो हमेशा constantly change होता रहता है. Write that down. But on the other hand, the world of forms जो है, the world of ideas जो है, this remains constant. This does not change. So the world of forms or the world of ideas remains constant. It does not change. That's very important to understand. Achha, now let's go into what these ideas are. How do we define these ideas? Okay, so let me take you through. This also you can add to it, that ideas cannot be sensed. They can only be thought. Like we said,
Thought.
they cannot be sensed. You cannot use your senses to understand ideas, but you can only think about them. You can only think about them. Okay, moving on. Acha. Okay, so let's try to understand what these ideas are, what these forms are. Number one, let's say we are human beings. Obviously, we are human beings, but there is an essence to being a human being. The essence of being a human being, अगर वो essence किसी में नहीं होगी, वो human being नहीं होगा. जैसे let's say there's a cow, but there is an essence of being a cow. The cow has an essence. If that essence is removed, that cow will cease to be a cow. That cow can be anything. It can be a horse, it can be
Yes.
a sheep, it can be a goat, it can be anything. But there is a particular essence that things have. If that essence is removed, those things cease to be what they are. ठीक है, try to understand this, then I'll give you notes for it. तो what is this idea, this essence? ये जो essence है, the essence of being human, what is that? The human nature. The essence of being a cow, what is that? Cowness. The essence of being a horse, what is that? It's called horseness.
Horseness.
Jabi, whenever we use this word ness, it means likeness. It means something to be that thing, right? हम बोलेंगे this is humanness to do this. This is whenever we use that suffix, उसका मतलब ये होता है something like it, जो उसकी असल ये है, हकीकत है, उसकी असल जो essence है. अब जो ये essence है हर चीज की, and look around the entire world, everything in the world has this particular essence. Everything, their own essence. So let's say you have a table in front of you. That table, that inanimate object also has an essence. Essence क्या है? अगर वो essence नहीं होगी तो वो कुछ और हो सकता है. It can be a different thing. So a table is something which has a flat surface and it has legs, and you use to keep things on it. That is the essence of a table. This is the idea that we all have in our minds. Chahe you use any language, let's say you use any language from the African subcontinent. Let's say you use English, you use French, you use Hindi, you use Sanskrit. Magar words will be different. Magar jo essence hogi wo same hogi. We'll use different things to call a cow. Different language mein, we have different words, but everyone knows, everyone has a mental picture of what a cow is. जो वो mental picture है, जो वो idea है, जो वो essence है, that is what these ideas are. That is what this form is. So this is the definition of Plato's ideas or forms, that these are the essences of things that can only be thought, they cannot be sensed. So you can write down the definition of ideas. What are ideas according to Plato? These are forms. These are forms,
Forms.
or no, okay, these are forms of all things. Forms of all things that represent the essence, that represent the essences of those things. Let me give you a better definition. Give me a second.
Plato gave his theory of ideas to create an ideal state.
Yeah, that's his political philosophy. That is his political philosophy. We don't have to study that. We just have to study his theory. What exactly was his idea, theory of ideas, and how did he view the world? So, also you can write all objects in the world have particular essences. Have particular essences. They have particular essences. And those essences or natures, those essences or natures are what Plato called ideas or forms. Okay? So everything in the world has a kind of a peculiar essence uski. Like we said, human beings ki essence human nature hai. There's something to be a human being. There is, like, for example, when you mention human, you have a mental picture in your mind what a human being looks like. You don't have the picture of, let's say, a cow. You don't have a picture of a table. You don't have a picture of a pen. When I say human, your mind produces the image of a human being. That mental picture is the essence of the human being. That mental picture is universal. मतलब चाहे आप कश्मीरी हैं, आप चाइनीज हैं, आप अमेरिकन हैं, आप अफ्रीकन हैं, everybody has the same idea of what it is to be a human being. Everybody has the same idea of what human nature consists. We have different words to say it, मगर idea जो है वो same. That is that, but I want to give you more. Wait, I want like a very good definition. Let's say what this says. He gives a very beautiful example also. I'll give it to you in the end. It's called the analogy of the cave. वो इसका एक example है to understand how the real world is the world of ideas. That's what he says. He divides the world into two parts. He says, एक है the world of senses, एक है the world of ideas. Senses का वाला world जो है, we get that through our five senses. That's the physical world, always changing, never constant. मगर ये वाला जो world है, the world of forms, the world of ideas, this is always constant. This does not change. This cannot be sensed. This can only be thought. मतलब अकल इसे समझ सकती है, senses इसे समझ नहीं सकते. Or this contains all the essences of the things that exist in the world. Everything की essence जो है वो इस दुनिया में है, इस world of ideas में है. And we can only understand it through our thought, through our akal, through our intellect. We cannot sense it. So this is how he divides. But then he says, because this is his dualism, then he says the world of senses is unreal. But the world of forms or ideas is the only reality. The world of ideas or forms is the only reality. जो वो senses वाला world है, वो एक shadow की तरह है. It's nothing more than a shadow of the world of ideas. So anyways, moving on with that, let's write this down so that it becomes clearer. So you write that according to Plato, the world of senses or the physical world, the world of senses or the physical world, which is always changing, is not real. The world of senses, or the physical world, this is the world of, which is always changing. This world is not real. On the other hand, the world of ideas or forms. So sometimes कभी question आ सकता है आपके एग्जाम में, forms बोला जाए, so don't get confused. Ideas is forms. So the world of ideas or forms is ever changing. Is never changing. Is always constant. It is never changing. Always constant. ठीक है? It never changes. Always constant. It cannot be sensed. It cannot be sensed. It can only be thought. इसे बस सोच सकते हैं. It can only be thought by the intellect. So what did I say? The world of forms or ideas is
never changing.
Never changing. Very good. Next.
Always constant.
Always constant. Very good.
It cannot be sensed while it can only be thought by intellect.
Very good. It cannot be sensed. It can only be thought by the intellect. Now इस पे लिखेंगे this is the only world which is real according to Plato. This is the only world which is real according to Plato. This is the only world which is real according to Plato. So now we got an idea कि real कौन सा है according to Plato और unreal world कौन सा है according to Plato. दूसरा आप लिखेंगे just under this you can also write the distinction. You can say for him the world of senses is nothing more than a shadow. मतलब एक
Of
साया है.
ideas.
Right.
Yeah.
ये एक साया है और साये के बगैर और कुछ नहीं. The world of senses is nothing more than a shadow of the world of ideas. Of the world of ideas. As the world of ideas is the only reality. The world of ideas is the only reality out there. The only reality out there. So this is like a basics. Acha, now let's define, I want to define this term ideas. So just write ideas again. Let me give you like a short definition. Ideas and natures, let's just write these two, essences and natures of all things in existence. Of all things in existence. Of all things in existence. Okay, where's my this thing? Of all things in existence. अच्छा, अब हम क्या लिखेंगे? Just to understand this idea जो है more, you write the characteristics of ideas. The characteristics of ideas. The characteristics of ideas. So here I've taken a very blurry picture of the characteristics of ideas. Maybe we can discuss this more in detail inshallah on Monday, but you can write a few things. Yeah, थोड़े से एक दो points ले लो इससे. Number one, ये वाला लिख लो. Ideas are regarded as universals. Ideas are regarded as universals. Universals. Just to define universals, like we said, you could be a Kashmiri, you could be an African, you could be anyone. You could be a person from 21st century or from 7th century or from any century. जो ये idea है, ये same है. Like we said, this is constant. Idea क्या है? जैसे, what does it mean to be a cow? That cowness, जो cow का essential nature है, जो mental picture हमारे जहनों में बनती है, that mental picture that everyone has of a cow, that has remained constant always. That has never changed. I mean, if that would change, then we literally wouldn't know what a cow is. Imagine if the mental picture of what a cow changes in human beings, we would never know what it means to be a cow. What it means for a horse to be a horse, what it means for a human to be a human. So ये जो essence है इन चीजों की, in existence में जितनी भी चीजें हैं वो constant रहती हैं और वो universal है. वो universal है. That does not change with time. That does not change with anything else, right? And number 2 भी लिख लो and then we'll end our meeting. Inshallah on Monday we'll continue. So
Okay,
ideas exist. Ideas exist in themselves and of themselves. So their existence is independent. It does not depend on anything. Ideas exist in themselves and of themselves, or you can say for themselves only. Right? So their existence is absolutely independent. It is not dependent on anything. Chahe, let's say, tomorrow, all human beings perish. Khatam. Magar, does
yes.
that mean the idea of what it means to be a cow changes? No. That will
No.
stay. Whether they're human beings or not, that is not, the idea is not dependent on human beings. Because it is the very essence of the cow. It's the very essence of what it means to be a cow. ठीक है? So ideas are not dependent on us. जैसे senses का जो data है, that is dependent on us. For example, right now it's nighttime. So I am seeing this nighttime. I am sensing this nighttime. If let's say I close my eyes and I go off to sleep, for me, it doesn't matter whether it's night or it's day or it's whatever time of the day, right? मगर जो idea है, that is not like that. Idea चाहे मैं हूँ या ना हो, if I exist or I don't exist, the idea of things will always remain, right? So let's
Yes.
inshallah continue from Monday. Let's complete this ideas, and then we'll move on to Aristotle. Okay.
Sure, sure.
All
Okay,
right.
fine.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye. Assalamu alaikum.
Bye. Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz.